In a world where numbers are everything, the scores stand tall, but two men will bring them down. This summer, Brian Hurst and Matt Batson will search for something more than the score. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, hey, man. That was a trailer for our new podcast coming out. It's called More Than Score.
Oh,
It's
I
so
heard.
new. We started it like 6 weeks ago.
Right.
Brand spanking new.
Brand spanking new. Just like
Spanking
this
motherfuckers.
episode is
Spanks.
brand spanking new.
Right into your ear holes.
We'll spank this episode under your ear holes, whether you like it or not.
Oh man, this is already off to a great start. I like where this is headed. We've got a good vibe going. It's a beautiful Sunday. The sun is no longer in my face as we record this, so I feel better about life.
No sun on the Sunday, but now your eyes, they're not gleaming like they used to.
Are you sure?
Actually, I still see it. Looking good.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to take a picture and show the people,
Mhm.
or just describe the glittering eyeballs with your words, Matt Batson.
Brian's eyes, they shine a majestic blue color, like you would imagine a great lion atop a giant mountain. And the eyes, they have a shining light projecting through them, like the projector that a math teacher uses to put problems on the board. That's pretty
Wow,
much it. That's what you're getting.
that went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to. That was pretty good. I've never had my eyes described like that so intimately.
Well, this is an intimate show, Brian.
This is true. It's no longer conversational. It's just intimate.
Yep.
So this week we talked to a couple people about a couple
Yes,
video games.
that's
The
right.
first one we talked to one of our senior editors. His name's Sean, and he told us about
Strong
the
finish.
Battlefield Hardline. Strong Finch. That's right. We talked about this last week. I was in doubt. You were right. His nickname is indeed Strong Finch.
Haha. Score one
Yep.
for this Opa Opa, bro.
Yep. If we're keeping score, you're up 1-0 because that's
One,
the first time we've ever scored anything. Because this is about more than the score, Matt. It's
exactly.
more than the
I'm sorry.
score. You
Where are
son of
my
a bee.
ethics?
Yeah. You forgot our like policy.
But you know what I haven't forgotten?
Hmm.
We also talked to Aaron, our associate writer, who reviewed Codename Steam, which is a
This
Steam
is true.
game on the 3DS.
It's hot. It's so hot it's steamy.
There's that Abraham Lincoln, he's a Steam show.
He is a Steam show. He's the man.
He's
Abraham
the
Lincoln
man.
is the fucking man. I think he might be the only president that has gotten more kick-ass as time goes on. Every other president, it seems like we're talking about how they were terrible people, whether they were slave owners or just racist in general.
And
And
like George Washington, I mean, he was cool. He was the first president, war hero and all, but he went out like a bitch. I mean, that leech, it just
yep,
killed him.
yep, it's
Yeah,
true, it's true. But Abraham Lincoln is he's doing some good stuff for himself. He is the best like PR for himself ever.
he
People love
is.
him.
hmm Have you
He's a wise
seen?
man.
This was a sketch from when Louis C.K. He did Saturday Night Live, and it was a parody. It was kind of a parody of his show Louis,
Hmm.
except it was Lincoln and he was Abraham Lincoln, and it was this hilarious thing where like it was doing the intro and he would like walk around town and then it would be Abraham Lincoln doing stand-up comedy, and then it's like Abraham Lincoln and he goes to a bar and he sits next to a black guy and then I forget what happens, but like he the black guy just like gets he's like, you think I'm supposed to say thank you to you or something? He's like he's like, I don't know you anything, all right? And then like Louis just like, settle down, man. Just being Louis.
Right.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Go watch that.
We like to have fun around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I'll go and watch that. I do enjoy Louis C.K., but I have not seen that skit in particular.
hmm
Yeah. You
But
know
you
what
know
skit I
what?
have?
You know what?
Oh, were we about to go with the same transition there?
I was gonna go to your story.
Oh, okay.
What were you gonna? I was gonna say, you have seen some Hasidic Jews.
I did see plenty of Hasidic Jews last night. Probably not in the way that people are thinking that I'm talking about right now,
I
but
don't know what way people would be thinking about it right now.
yeah, I mean, honestly, if someone came up to me and said, "Last night I saw a bunch of Hasidic Jews," I'm not sure what would pop in my mind first either.
Mhm.
Like, were you at a bar mitzvah? Is that something that happens on Saturday nights? I'm pretty sure Saturday's probably not the best time
Yeah.
for a bar mitzvah.
Fun
But
fact, I have a friend who is he's been a DJ at parties and he has been like a dancer at parties. Not like that kind of
like a
dancer.
sexy dancer? Oh, okay.
No, he's just like a dancer. I don't know.
Hmm.
But he's DJed bar mitzvahs before and he said that they're a lot of fun.
I'm sure the bar mitzvahs and the bat mitzvahs, they get down, man.
They get
They
down.
get down. They like to enjoy themselves. They know how to live.
hmm
I appreciate that. So these particular Hasidic Jews I saw last night also know how to live. So all day Saturday, like it's so the Sabbath is like once the sun goes down on Friday nights, and then you can't do pretty much anything that's like a machine or a electronic or anything. I'm not really familiar with all that, but but once the sun goes down Saturday, then you can go back to it being 2015 and living like the majority of the country. And so I was helping some friends. We'd just gone to like a rock concert, and we were loading out the van, and we were taking the van back to Williamsburg to drop off some stuff. And so we drop off the stuff, and we're driving through Williamsburg, and it's like 12:30 at night, and on every fucking corner for like 6 blocks, there's just like 3 to 5 Hasidic Jews just hanging out because they go out on Saturday nights and they get drunk, basically. Not all of them, of course, but they go and they drink, they have a good time and all that stuff. But it's so interesting because they're in their like proper Hasidic garb, and they have like their sideburns, and the women are wearing their wigs, and like, but it's not just like single people, it's like families go out. We saw a couple that had like 3 kids with them, like one in a stroller, and it's like 12:30 at night. But that's just I don't know, man. That's just what they do.
Taking the
Uh,
kids out at midnight.
yeah, why not? But the funniest part about it was because I'd never been in Williamsburg, at least in this part of Williamsburg, around that time. And as we were driving the van, the guy driving, because they do this all the time whenever they have shows, he's like, "By the way, we're about to see a bunch of Hasidic Jews," and it was within 60 seconds of that it just like it started. It was like a constant stream, and it was so funny because then we finally parked the van, and so we're walking to the train, and we pass this bar, and it's just like 4 Hasidic Jews just hanging out on the stoop of a bar, just smoking cigarettes. Like they could be hipsters, but instead they're Hasidic Jews. And it's just such an interesting sight to see, and it just like struck me as it was super cool. Smoking is bad, by the way, but it is super cool to see them just doing what they do, and it just goes to show that at the core, every human being just really wants to go out on Saturday nights and just have fun. But it's very interesting. So I had a lot of fun. That's my Hasidic Jew story that I didn't think I would have ever. So I believe you have a story to share as
I
well
I do
along those
have a
lines.
Hasidic Jew story. So this was about when I was 8, so excuse my 8-year-old ignorance, audience. But I was in the Atlanta airport, and a Hasidic Jew walked by with his suitcase, and being the dumb 8-year-old I was, I just blurt out, "Is that guy Amish?" And my sister immediately she like hits me or something. She's like, "No, you idiot!" And a random lady walking by, complete opposite direction, could have just minded her own business, but no, she just turns and yells at me, and she's like, "He's Jewish!" And I was scarred for life.
Sure. Like, was she defending him, or do you think she's just like an educator? So anytime someone's
Yeah.
ignorant, she just has to like teach them the way. Like,
She
this is
travels
the
the
truth
world. She travels the world, educates the ignorant.
on small things,
Yep.
like just the tiniest little things. Be like, oh man, this Carolina barbecue is really good. That's not Carolina barbecue. That's Kansas City barbecue. Damn it. Oh man,
Oh,
but
maybe
that's like,
maybe I should swallow this quarter. It sure looks delicious. And she's like, "That'll get stuck in your digestive system and it'll hurt
you'll
you."
die.
And I'm
I'm
like,
gonna,
"Oh, thanks,
I'm gonna,
lady."
I'm gonna swallow this gum and it's gonna be in my stomach for 7 years. That's not really true. Here's what happens to gum. I don't know. Is that true? Is that I feel like I haven't heard otherwise.
I don't know. I haven't checked the
If
facts on this.
I think I stopped swallowing gum when I was like 12,
Hmm.
so it's all out of my system by now.
Now,
But
now that
I
you,
don't recall like a great purge of gum coming
Mhm.
out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, now that you mention that, I kind of just feel like next time I have like a big like research paper assignment, I just want to research that and write an essay, like just a 5-page
Yeah,
essay on what happens
science,
to gum
man.
when you swallow it.
Somewhere out there, there's some person working at a university that does research that would love to spend like years of their life figuring out what happens to gum inside the human body. So I encourage that. I would love to. I would read that. I hate reading academic writing because I had to do it for 4 years and I'm
Hmm.
done. But I would read that one. That'd be good. Especially because I'm really curious what would happen.
Hmm.
But
I'll do the research.
video games.
Video games.
Oh
That's what we're
man,
talking about.
that's what we were talking about.
And that's what we will talk about in this interview with Shawn, who reviewed Battlefield Hardline.
Those are the kind of noises you can expect in Battlefield Hardline. Although I will say, according to our little chat with Sean, it seemed that there are fewer and more sneak, 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 sneak. Because
and
that's
and
what
like
sneaking sounds like.
and like flashing your badge and being like, "LAPD, this is Detective Carter." That's a Rush Hour reference. That was my Chris Tucker voice. That
That
wasn't my.
was,
I wasn't trying, but that was my
that
Chris
was
Tucker.
good. Does that make me Jackie Chan? Is that what's
Oh,
going
you
on
are my
here?
Jackie Chan. Have you
Oh
ever?
man.
Are you familiar
Do
with?
you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's all I remember from Rush Hour.
Are you familiar with ClickHole? You
Yes,
know
yes
this
I am.
website?
Yeah.
The other day I just followed them on Twitter because that's the best way for their articles to pop up in my feed for me
Mhm.
to read them. And the other day it was just the best one. It was the top 10 reasons why Jackie Chan is definitely going to heaven. And I was like, I read it like the entire thing. Like normally I just laugh at
Yeah.
like ClickHole articles. I read the entire thing and I was like, this is great. Like this is just wonderful.
Yeah. I would love for them to like throw a curveball in there and write an article that's 100% serious in fact,
Yeah.
just to throw people off. Because for people that don't know, ClickHole is like it's owned by
It's
The
just
Onion, right?
yeah, it's just making fun
But
of
so
BuzzFeed.
it's like BuzzFeed done by Onion, and so
Mhm.
it's just all bullshit, but it's
Yeah.
hilarious. Some of the headlines are great.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
yeah, I
I
would love to see
loved
them do something serious.
one of the big running ones that was I think it was last week or the week before. It was like uh our researchers wore this fat suit for like this amount of days to see what it's like to be your mom.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good on them. People are making money doing that. I can't believe that those are careers now
Mhm.
in 2015.
Yep.
100 years ago, they could have been churning butter,
Could have been
but now
turning
they're
butter.
writing articles that are just making people laugh. So good on the world
Mhm.
for making that shit. But let's talk about the and the sneak with Sean.
Mhm.
So here we go. Here's our interview with me and Matt. and
And
Sean
Sean,
talking about Battlefield Hardline.
Battlefield Hardline.
Welcome, Sean. How's it going?
It's going just fine, Brian.
Excellent, excellent. And you are here to tell us about Battlefield Hardline, yeah?
Yep, Battlefield Hardline, the fifth game in the series.
Cool, cool. So before Matt and I jump into any questions, because we're gonna rail you hard line on this
Oh
one.
yeah. Oh, wordplay.
Oh,
And people say I have terrible wordplay.
yep. Well, now people can say that you have terrible but better than Brian's wordplay. But yeah. So before we get into any questions, we're just really curious. What are your general impressions of this exuberant game?
First of all, I would have to say that Battlefield Hardline seems like it's trying to do two different things at once. I mean, I played through the entire story first just to get the feel of the experience, and it feels more like a Far Cry game. Honestly, I played it just as I would play something like Far Cry 3 or Far Cry 4. I would definitely take down almost everybody. I feel like there were only one or two specific sections where I could not sneak up behind somebody, tag them, and arrest them, and or even just knock them out. And it kind of felt a little bit different to me, seeing that I was playing a Battlefield game. Uh, Jump into the multiplayer, it gave me a similar experience to the previous Battlefield games. Granted, there are different game modes. There are a couple that I like, a couple that I feel like were just not innovative enough. But overall, I feel like I liked the gameplay, but it felt like it just split into two, single player and multiplayer.
Hmm. So it's more split personality than anything. That's it. So one of the things you when you're talking about Far Cry 4 and then you mentioned tagging, I heard about this. So can you explain how the tagging system works in Hardline? Is it exactly like Far Cry? Like you don't have a camera or anything, do you?
You actually have a scanner,
Okay.
and once you have the enemy inside of your scanner, you can check them, and basically it's like tagging them. Basically, they're generally the same. There are some specific enemies that have warrants for their arrest, so you get more points, more cash for going behind them and sneaking up to them and arresting them. So it is basically generally the same, uh,
Right.
and only you have to have the scanner open in order to see like their outlines and things like that.
And how does the mechanic work for arresting someone as opposed to just killing them?
It's basically just like, you could just go in guns blazing. That's fine, but you get more rewards. You get more cash from multiplayer. You also get more unlocks, more achievements, and weapons and gear if you go up behind them. It's basically like going up behind them. You flash your badge, having them stop, and surrender, and then you go up to them and you take them down. This gives you more points than if you just snuck up behind somebody and whacked them over your head with your baton, or even if you have a headshot.
hmm
So yeah, it seems like the arresting goes more with playing stealth, and then if you prefer to be just balls to the walls fighting, and you just want to shoot some people, then you can do it that way too. Is that sound right?
That sounds right. But I do feel like the single player is much more geared to stealth, just given the way the AI act, the way the minimap is set up with, your stealth field of view also seen. And honestly, I had more fun stealthing it around than just getting a couple of guns and going in Rambo style.
hmm Yeah, and it also sounded too like you're rewarded more for that kind of stealth gameplay.
You are.
And also one thing I wanted to go back and mention with the Far Cry comparison, Just to be sure, is this still like you mean Far Cry in just terms of gameplay? Is the story linear, or can you move around? Do you have that sort of like open world feel?
The story is very linear. I do want to point that out. It is still a very linear scripted story, but whenever there are your driving sections, and in those driving sections, it's not specific. You need to go to this place, then this place, then this place. It kind of gives you a feel like it is open world, but it is still very linear. I will say the story wants to play out like a season of a show on Netflix,
Hmm.
right down to the UI. Whenever you go from episode to episode, of which there are 10, you do get those breaks, and you have what looks exactly like, the episode breaks from Netflix. And if you jump out of Hardline and then jump back in, you can get a previously on Battlefield Hardline.
Hmm.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That is
And
pretty
then, yeah, I did that a couple times. I felt like that was cool. Um, the one thing I will say about that is that the story itself is not that intriguing.
cool. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say with that, because obviously some of the controversy surrounding this game comes from some controversial current events that have happened, and because of that, I believe I heard that some of the characters, their like lines of dialogue were taken out because they wanted to make them seem like they had less personality. Did that show? Do you think that hurt the story?
That very much did. You do have your group of characters. The plot, in my opinion, is very uninspired. I grew up watching shows like Law and Order and various other, crime shows.
Hmm.
And this one is very uninspired. You can see where the story is going to go from a mile away. And it didn't seem like many of the characters had a distinct personality. You had your main character, your token chick, the corrupt police chief, the crime boss. They even have a token black guy. So it just felt like there were some, the characters were not as developed as you would see in other games like this. I will say that, it's not boring. There was never a time where I was sitting back and I was just like, okay, seriously, I don't like this story,
Hmm.
because it wants you to be reminded of the old 80s shows. They even say that. They even say, oh, it's bring me back to the 80s, hitting the nail over your head. But I did like that kind of throwback, given that I was kind of raised on that kind of material.
Wait, is this more old shows like Chips or like Cops?
More like Chips, probably, not like Cops.
Oh, man, that
I
is.
I
I kind
would
of want to
say,
play this now just to see how shitty this like show format is.
well, I mean, it's kind of like Miami Vice, right down to the
Okay.
point where I think they even say something like Miami Vice, because you're in Miami.
Right.
And I will give them props to going to different locations. Like, there is a desert and an airfield that you go to. You do go to the Everglades. I was almost eaten
You,
by an alligator, so
I was gonna say, do you get to interact with wildlife because the Everglades are like a treasure? Do you get to hunt pythons at any point?
no, no.
Damn it.
There is literally
We,
one quick time event.
Detective, we gotta arrest these pythons.
I mean that's the thing. That's the thing in Florida. They pay amateur hunters to go out and kill pythons because they're just like the Burmese python is like taking over the Everglades. And
Hmm.
so I honestly think the next like Cabela's Big Game Hunter should just be a python hunting game. It'd also be terrifying as shit.
That would be
I
terrifying.
would
It would be.
I would poop my pants. But anyway, so
Honestly,
there's no python hunting. That's too bad.
there's no pythons, period. All you see are alligators. There's literally one quick time event in the entire game, which I kind of messed with me because it's literally the only QuickTime event in the game is you almost being eaten by an alligator.
Oh,
That's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny, and it threw me off guard. So I did die once or twice during that, but
Mhm.
it was. I mean, I did like it. You know, there were other alligators. I didn't interact with them mostly because I didn't want to get eaten again.
See,
right.
this sounds like one of those things where it's like, all right, guys, we finished this game. We have like a week. What are we gonna do? Oh, how about we put a quick time event where you have to fight off a fucking alligator? Let's do it.
It seemed like less from that for me, and more like, well, if we put this in the trailer, then we can show off. Hey, you get to interact with wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Good
hot,
social
exciting
reveal.
action.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just seemed like it was put in there like that.
Uh,
But yeah, that is sadly what's going on. There are a couple of recurring characters that I wish I would have gotten to know more, but overall, the story mode is good once through. I'm not going to be playing it through again unless I want to, get the trophies or anything. Back to
does
the actually back
uh,
to the scanning mode. It almost felt like Batman, honestly. Not just because like it has that bluish, sheen over it, and you get to tag enemies, but you also get to find evidence that will help you complete case files and get you rewards as well. So I wanted to, you know, put that in there as well.
mhm. And one of the things I was wondering, since the multiplayer is more like a classic Battlefield experience, what are the weapons like for both the cops and the criminals in multiplayer?
They're basically your standard. It's, I mean, they both have their four different classes. You have your uh, engineer, your sniper, your enforcer, and then your regular guy. And it's mostly very similar weapons on either side. They can be changed out very quickly. Honestly, the weapons themselves are not too inspiring. It just seems like your standard fare.
I've heard that there's a rocket launcher in some of the maps.
Um,
Can you confirm?
I cannot confirm that as of yet, though it would not surprise me.
See, that just like something like that. I get it that you want to put it in a game because rocket launchers are fun and exciting, and people can't imagine a multiplayer experience without some big explosive weapon.
Hmm.
But how many times have you guys heard of cops getting into gunfights with criminals and someone pulling out a fucking rocket launcher?
Oh, I mean, that's true.
But it's video game world, so
Yeah,
you
One
also
thing.
fought off an alligator with button presses. So
that's true. I will say there was one spot in the single player where I controlled a tank and I controlled a rocket launcher. So it would not surprise me if that carried on to the multiplayer.
Right.
it's
Uh,
hardcore.
One thing I wanted to talk about with the multiplayer is things like giant open maps and like explosive or destructive environments, Levolution, all that stuff. These things have been like staples of Battlefield for a while. Is that kind of gameplay still in Hardline in the multiplayer?
It is. There are a variety of different maps. There are different kinds of maps as well. Even though the one that I've seen the most are, the fairly small like lakefront property.
Hmm.
I did run into a couple of times where I was just in the wide open Everglades, and it depends on the game mode that you do go into, but a lot of times the big sprawling open maps they're still there and they're still fun to play in actually.
And with the collectibles, you mentioned those earlier. What's that? Is this one of those things where you run up and find something, or you have to scan it with your scanner, I guess? How does that work?
Um, Basically, if you're close to one, you can open up your scanner and look for it, and then after you find it, you can analyze it. Basically, hold X, and it'll give you like some sort of file to put in a dossier. You can also open up your scanner at any time, and it'll give you a pointer and a distance to, where the next item will be in order to complete cases. It's mostly just your very token collectible.
Right.
Although they can be fun to like go in and listen and read and all that other
Yeah.
stuff.
Do you feel like the collectibles and the information that you get from those adds enough depth to the story to kind of seek out those collectibles?
Not much, I would say. They weren't really very deep or inspiring to read through. Granted, I'm basing this off of the others collectibles I've seen, and these just seem, just fun little tidbits or stuff that you kind of already knew or could figure out about the characters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Matt, do you have any more questions?
No, I don't believe I do.
I think the last thing that I'm curious to hear is, Shawn, do you think that this is a series that, because Battlefield's never done a cops and robbers type thing before, do you think a format like this, the police versus criminals, is something that you'd want to see again in the near future? And by near future, I mean in the next, 5 years.
Oh, definitely. I mentioned the multiplayer game modes earlier. There are some specific ones that I liked. For example, there's a VIP mode where you go through 8 little games where it switches out who's the VIP that you need to kill. Like an assassination, the cops are on the side where they have to protect the VIP. The criminals are obviously there to kill them. I liked that game mode a lot. There's a hostage mode where the cops basically have to go in and rescue a hostage. The criminals have to stop them. And there's a couple of other game modes that I loved, and I feel like those were actually really cool. And I would love to see more game modes like that. I feel like if they did a Battlefield Hardline 2, or even if Call of Duty kind of grabbed this idea and did their own version of it, I feel like this is definitely a good way to go. It's definitely a good shakeup of the formula of here, go shoot this other colored person because they're trying to invade America or because they're trying to invade so-and-so. I feel like... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, that actually brings up something that I meant to ask. How do they present the criminals in this? I mean, I know it takes place in Miami, but is there variation as far as, race and stuff like that in the criminals, or does it seem fairly stereotypical?
There is a little bit of stereotyping there, but at the same time, you do play as a Cuban American, and your partner is some sort of Asian. I didn't really... Again, character's not the strong point, but it is fairly diverse. You do get white guys, Koreans, and Mexicans, people like that. And actually, I would say that the white people are actually on the more criminal side than on the police side.
Yeah.
On this one. So I would say that, yeah, it's fairly balanced. I don't feel like race was a big factor in this.
Yeah, I figured that was one of those things that no matter what they did with this game in light of, recent events over the past year and a half or 2 years, it's they're going to get criticized about it anyway. And so, I mean, even if it's making all the criminals white to say hey, this happens, or the opposite of making them all of some ethnicity, So I mean, it's good that they're doing diverse representation, but man, that's such a touchy subject.
Yeah, it is.
I will be completely honest. When Ferguson happened, I was surprised that this game kept chugging along. I thought it'd be delayed quite a bit more, but
Honestly,
it seems like they did from what you've said and what I've read, it seems like they've done a decent job of kind of skirting around that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like very oppressive things about Ferguson or anything like that. I do feel like the delay actually kind of helped with that because there wasn't that, sort of, what, these cops are terrible, they're killing innocent people.
Right. I mean, I think they also accomplished that, I would guess, because you're fighting people with high caliber weapons, and like I'm guessing they're all like in the drug trade and stuff like that. These aren't just like common criminals, like petty violence and that kind of stuff.
No, these are, drug kingpins and things like
Right.
that. Told
Yeah.
you story fairly.
Cool. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't have to play with a guilty conscience or anything, or feel bad about that shit.
No.
So if we're all out of questions here, you 60
Yes.
seconds.
I wasn't sure that was a question.
What?
You said if we're all out of questions here, and there was a long pause. It's okay. You'll cut it out. You'll
No,
cut this part out
That was
too.
the last question. The final. God damn it, Matt! You know how this works. So, Sean, you have 60 seconds, or however long you want to take, just to recap. Give us your general thoughts. Tell people whether they should buy this, or play it, or rent it, or do whatever. Just like buy it and toss it off a building. I don't know.
Steal it from a friend.
Steal it from a friend and play it.
Steal it from a friend.
So go.
Then put it. Yeah, go
I would
ahead.
definitely go through the single player once just to experience it. Don't go in expecting anything groundbreaking, but I will say they have enough innovation in Hardline to give any Battlefield fan or even Call of Duty fan, this definitely deserves a playthrough for those fans. If you're looking for something completely different, this isn't it. I would recommend you wait for a sequel or see what else Visceral has up their sleeve.
Sounds good. You made it under the 60-second mark. You are probably the first person to do that, so congratulations. All right, man. Well, it sounds like Hardline it's an interesting game for people that are into the shooter stuff or even stealth stuff for the single player. So thanks for coming on. Oh, Matt, do you want to talk about it?
I'll probably be staying away from it because I'm afraid of reptiles.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of alligators, and I still believe somewhere in this game there are pythons since you're in the Everglades, just underneath the surface. So I will stay away as well. But thank you, Sean, for sharing all your thoughts and opinions, and hopefully you'll be back on More Than the Score soon enough.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Great talking to the great Oppo Oppo brothers.
Aha.
Haha. Thank you for remembering our nickname. That's very kind of you. So, all right, guys.
Yeah.
Farewell. So long.
Farewell.
Matt, I'll be talking to you more soon.
Yep. Just now.
See ya.
So, Aaron, you reviewed Code Name S.T.E.A.M. That seems exciting. My biggest interest with this game is, of course, America's greatest leader, Abraham Lincoln. Now, just to start off, how badass was Abraham Lincoln in this game fighting aliens?
Well, he was pretty badass. I don't want to spoil too much, but he does take a pretty active role in the story, despite being the guy that kind of stays behind at base and gives you orders as you go through. But there are a couple incidents involving like giant mecha, and Abraham Lincoln is involved. So
Nice.
Yeah, I have to say that's the first thing that caught me about this game is that like Abraham Lincoln is a character in a video game, and it's in a like totally not serious role.
Mhm.
Or I guess like it could be serious because you're fighting off, the alien horde from the Earth, but still, it's just
Right.
like that's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, I think as Nintendo made sure everyone knew, he is voiced by Will Wheaton, and
Right.
Hmm.
I think before the game launched, I was watching a Twitch stream where some of the people from Twitch were talking to people from Nintendo and Will Wheaton about this, and he was like listening to Will Wheaton talk about it, like he actually took this role really, really seriously, and he was going on about his respect for Abraham Lincoln as a real person in history and how he wanted to do the role justice.
Oh wow.
That's interesting.
That shows you, just that little snippet there shows you how far voice acting has come in video
Yeah.
games over the
Yeah.
last 15 years. You know, because Nintendo could have made this game in like 2001 and been like, no big deal. We'll just find some like nobody that just
Yeah.
has like a deep voice, even though Lincoln didn't have a
Look
deep
at
voice.
my grandson. But yeah, so give us basically the premise for about the story in Codename S.T.E.A.M.
All right, so the story is about a sort of secret strike team that has been put together by Abraham Lincoln after he faked his assassination at the Ford Theater. Because he, during his presidency, had learned about an imminent alien invasion and needed to step down from his duties without anybody noticing so he could start putting together the technology and the people needed to make this happen. And he soon realized that America wasn't going to be able to do this by themselves, so he starts going on his way to England to try and ask for help from the Queen, but then the alien invasion happens in London, and the aliens take Buckingham Palace, and that is where the story begins.
Nice. And now this game, it's developed by the same people who made Fire Emblem Awakening.
Right.
And they're similar in that they're strategy RPGs, but Codename S.T.E.A.M. has the third-person camera and has some different mechanics. Is there any? Can you talk about like the similarities and differences that some people may recognize with the Fire Emblem series?
All right. I think it's very similar to Fire Emblem in that you are controlling a very small team of people against a very large number of enemies, and your characters are more versatile and a little more powerful to compensate. The game plays out on a square grid, even though it controls like a third-person shooter, so you can sort of stand anywhere on your square to end your turn, but you're still considered to be on a grid square. But besides that, there's really very few differences because, again, combat is done with guns, so you don't need to be standing adjacent to an enemy to fire. You just have to be close enough and have line of sight. The combat takes place on the map instead of going to a separate screen like in Fire Emblem. So,
Right.
and to attack someone, you shoot them with your gun, and they don't get to attack back, and that's about it. And there's also no permadeath in the game. If you lose a character, they're just gone for the remainder of the mission, unless you pay a whole bunch of coins at a save point to revive them.
Oh, okay. One thing I wanted to ask, did you play this on the new 3DS or was it the old 3DS?
I played it on the old 3DS. I do own a new 3DS, but I imported it from Japan when it was first released, and because the system is region locked, I couldn't play it on that one.
Oh, okay. Did you feel like the game was held back any by playing it on the old 3DS, or did you feel like you got the full experience?
I mean, I think it was fine. I think the biggest advantage of playing it on the new 3DS would be that you can use the second stick to control the camera. On the old 3DS, you have to use the A, B, X, Y buttons to move the camera.
Ooh, not a fan of
And
that.
it sounds really bad, but in practice, it's really okay because the game is turn-based and you're not under pressure to line up a shot really quickly. You can just carefully nudge the camera to where you need it to be. So it took a little bit of getting used to, but
And
definitely not a problem.
like I was saying earlier with Lincoln, it's just the way that they present like all these characters and everything, and the alternate history and all that stuff. It's really interesting to me, more so than the gameplay itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know how to word this question. Actually, that's kind of terrible. Like, so how many characters did they have overall? Do you know if there's like a firm count of
Uh,
characters?
there are 12 playable characters.
Okay, and you unlock all these through story stuff, or is this something that like you have to like collectibles don't unlock any of them, or are there collectibles or anything like that?
All the characters are unlocked over the course of the story, so by the end you've got your full
Okay,
squad of 12 people. There are collectibles
right.
around the maps, but they unlock new weapons and new boilers, which are this game's code word for armor.
hmm hmm
And with
Um,
the characters, is it when you have all 12, do you use all 12 on the map, or the is it a system where you select who you're gonna bring to the fight?
Right. You pick a squad of 4 for every mission,
Okay.
except for missions where they introduce a new character, and the game will tell you about it beforehand, and then you have to pick 3 characters, and you'll get your 4th one when the map starts.
hmm is there any perk to using combinations of characters, kind of like Marvel Ultimate Alliance or anything like that?
Um,
Or is it just the way that you play and strategizing?
yeah, I'm not familiar with the game you mentioned, but uh, there aren't, even though some characters are lifted from the same works, or the same American literature,
hmm
there's not really any benefit to using multiple characters from the same set. But certainly every character plays very uniquely, so depending on how you play, you'll want to pick characters that match that, and as well as characters that synergize with each other. Um, example, one of my favorite things to do is there's one character that has a grenade launcher and can lob grenades over obstacles and behind enemies, and there's one character and one weapon that can lay traps on the ground. And about halfway through the game, I realized that you can use the knockback from the grenade launcher to knock enemies onto the traps for crazy damage, and
Nice.
there are a whole bunch of little tricks like that you can figure out, which is super interesting to me.
Is this one of those things where, as you unlock these characters, they're progressively stronger? Like by the end of the game, are the early characters rendered useless?
Not at all, because there is no character growth. Your characters are exactly as strong at the
Okay.
beginning of the game as they are at the end. The difference is that as you defeat enemies, they drop coins, and there are coins scattered all over the map, and you can pick those up, and those unlock new weapons. And those weapons aren't like necessarily better than the ones you get at the start, but they have very different effects. So you don't get better options, you just get a wider toolbox, which means you can deal with more situations.
Gotcha. Did you have a personal favorite character or group of characters or anything? Like, what was your what kind of squad was most effective for you?
Um, do you want me to name the characters,
Yeah,
or?
I do. I like American literature, so
Yeah.
this is interesting to me.
All right. It's probably a bit of a spoiler.
Oh man,
It's
I mean,
Darth Vader.
it's not Darth Vader.
that'd be sweet.
Again, should I name them or not?
We'll just give fair warning that if you're gonna listen to this right now, that this character will be spoiled a little bit, and if not,
Okay.
you can skip ahead 3 minutes.
Yeah, if you don't know who you're gonna
Roughly.
unlock in the game, then
All right. So yeah, fair warning. It's a bit of a spoiler, but my personal favorite team of 4 going into the end of the game was John Henry, who is a American folklore hero.
hmm
Uh, second was the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he has a really cool move where he can basically pounce on an enemy from a few squares away and take their place, which also lets you cross over gaps and get on top of things. Let's see, number 3 was Tiger Lily from Peter Pan,
hmm
who I found very useful because she has a grenade launcher that launches healing mortars. So you
Very
can
nice.
get all your other characters together and heal them up.
hmm
And the 4th one, which is the last character you unlock, was Dorothy Gale, also from The Wizard of Oz.
oh, okay.
Really? So
Yeah.
are there so are those the only two from the Wizard of Oz?
No, you get the Tin Man and the Scarecrow as well.
Okay, so the Wizard of Oz plays
But
a pretty big role in
Uh-huh.
this game.
unfortunately, no
That's,
flying monkeys.
Yeah, there are
yeah,
no flying
flying
monkeys.
monkeys.
That's the thing. I think Nintendo also said that there are no literary villains. Your enemies are just the alien horde.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing that some critics were talking about, like with this game, that some of the controversy is that whenever it's the enemy's turn, it seems to take a long time for the enemies to move.
Right, and this is 100% true, and I do wish that there was a speed up button for the enemy's turn, but if there was, I wouldn't use it because there is so much information you can get on the enemy's turn that I found it pretty clear that you're expected to pay really close attention, switch between camera angles, and try and just get any glimpse of what the enemy is doing. Because you have no map in this game. You only have the information you get with your eyes and ears directly.
Hmm.
So if you can catch an
Mhm.
enemy like sneaking across a hallway because you're paying enough attention to do that, that can be a huge help because you don't want to turn a blind corner and then get shot in the face.
Yeah,
That's my motto for life.
don't want to get hit in the face.
Don't want to turn that blind corner. Shot in the face.
Also, this is going back a little bit, but Brian, I really appreciated your Marvel Ultimate Alliance reference. But what Brian was talking about when he said that, Aaron, is in that game you have a team of four, and it's a bunch of different Marvel superheroes. And say if you set up like a team of members that are all in the X-Men, you get like stats bonus for
Right.
having all of them. And then in the second one, like certain duos, they could perform special attacks together. Like Iron Man could shoot like a laser off of Captain America's shield and just take
Okay.
out a
Right.
bunch of people.
Yeah, there is nothing like that.
Yeah,
Not in this
I
game.
mean that's one of the things. I guess there aren't enough characters for that to happen because the
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz seems like the only one that you could do an entire group of four.
Right.
Um, but no, that's interesting. Maybe that's something in the future that they would be able to license more characters and whatnot and get those in there because I think Ultimate Alliance had like what 25 characters, Matt, something like
Sure.
that. Yeah. But no, that's really interesting. I do like. I'm very partial to the Wizard of Oz. It's one of the first books that I read, like
Mhm.
real people books when I was a kid,
Real
and
people
my
books.
mom has been in love. Yeah, my mom's been in love with the Wizard of Oz since she was a little girl. So
Mhm.
I wish I had Nintendo actually just to get to play with those characters. But I also a fun sidetrack story here. When I was 9, we went to go see the Wizard of Oz, like a stage production of it at this professional theater, and I had a total crush on the girl that played the Wicked Witch because I saw her without her makeup afterward and
Oh yeah.
stole my heart. And
Brian
so,
was like,
Oh,
"Women soon later."
yeah, 9-year-old hitting on like the 25-year-old actress.
In
So,
the rest is history.
nothing happened. So yes, the rest is history.
yeah, I think if you like The Wizard of Oz, this would be a worthwhile play because I think that's one of the works that definitely has a huge influence on the game and its story.
Yeah, is this one of those things where are they just characters out of the books put into this different world, or do they reference like the worlds that they're from in the game?
No, it's definitely clear that these characters are from the worlds that they came from, and they talk about it.
Okay.
Especially so with the Oz characters.
Hmm.
This
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this sounds really cool. It's like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
as a
Yes,
strategy
exactly.
RPG.
That's a great reference.
Yeah.
It definitely has that kind of vibe to it.
Is Sean Connery in this game as himself?
Not as far as I know.
That's too bad. Hidden character, Sean Connery. He's in there. I guarantee it. Oh, that's awesome. Matt, do you have more questions about this stunner of a game?
I don't believe I do. Actually, wait.
Wait.
I just remembered. Do you feel that Abraham Lincoln was better as an
yeah.
alien hunter or a vampire hunter?
Oh, I like him better as an alien hunter, if only because the movie was not that great.
Oh, you take that back.
Oh man, I did watch it. It was fun, I guess, but that's all I'll say about it.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah, I think more so in this game than in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Lincoln is a character that really does command respect. I think he's probably the most fleshed out character out of all of them in the game.
And he plays like the central role as like the organizer of all this stuff. But does the story really focus around him? Like, is he the central line through all of the plot, or at any point does it kind of break off into more of like your team?
I mean,
Like,
it's not really a game about Lincoln, I
Right.
suppose.
I guess they just kind of do. They just use him as like a jumping off point. Like, here's where we start, and then he's a part of it, but it's not necessarily about him.
Character.
Sorry, what was that, Matt?
I was saying, like, giving you a familiar character, and then just kind of, I mean, most people know sort of his history, and then just letting him, like, lead you into the story.
I think that's the thing, is that if you know about Lincoln's history, and this sort of goes with all the characters, if you know what the characters were before this game, then the game will reward that knowledge very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned that in the review. But again, it's not really so much a game about Lincoln. It's sort of an ensemble thing.
Yeah.
Where all the characters sort of have equal importance placed on them, with the exception that Lincoln is the head of the operation.
No, it's really cool. I tip my hat to Nintendo for doing this, because if there are any kids out there that would read some of these books after playing this game, that'd be incredible, because American literature in the past 150 years is it's really good, especially in the late 19th century and early 20th century. So kudos to Nintendo for coming up with that.
And I think, jumping off that point, if you are a fan of H.P. Lovecraft's work, you'll get a real kick out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the entire enemy team is inspired by his works, and I think it's actually clearly more than inspiration. I think the designs were definitely like they read something in a Lovecraft book, and then they designed an enemy based on that.
Interesting. I wonder what the licensing talks were like for this game.
Yeah.
No, all the characters are public domain, so I don't think there were any.
Oh, that's true. Mm-hmm. So I guess there were no licensing talks.
It would be really cool for them to move forward, like, with sequels using more literature characters going through.
I totally agree. That would be awesome. I would love to see more of this game.
I wonder if they could attack it from the European side and have Harry Potter characters.
Of course, that's a lot trickier, because that is definitely not public domain.
Right. Exactly. Oh well, we can wait 50 years, and then we'll have the Twilight / Harry Potter code name game.
Okay, you can look forward to that if you want.
Yeah, I hope I'm
read
dead
the
before that
review
one.
and hear about it on More Than the Score.
Yeah, we'll do. If that happens, no matter what, when we're in our 70s or late 60s or whatever, the three of us have to get back together and do a single. Except we'll do a hologram cast or something.
Right. We'll be all sitting here with our virtual reality headsets.
Exactly. But we'll talk about how shitty that game is. So, all right, cool. Well, I'm on all the questions, Matt.
Yeah, I believe I am too. So with that, Aaron, you now have 60 seconds to give us your final impressions.
All right, final impressions. I love Fire Emblem, I love Advance Wars, and I love this game, but it is nothing like any of those two. It's definitely different. I recommend trying the demo, but this scratched the same itch as all the other intelligent system strategy games, just in a very different way, and I really appreciate it for that.
Would you suggest someone were to play this?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is one of my favorite games that I've reviewed for the site so far, and my score should reflect that.
Very nice.
I think this game, along with Hotline Miami 2, are going to be the only games that I promise to play and will actually play from this.
Yeah, so we have this. I don't know if you heard last week.
Right.
I'm not sure how much anybody listens, but Matt and I pretty much after every interview we're like, man, this sounds great. We're gonna go out right now, this second, and play this game. And it has yet. I still yet to play anything. At least we were honest with Shawn. We both told him that Hardline is totally not happening. But that goes with the territory. So, but yeah, if I had a 3DS, this would definitely be on the list because I adore this character, especially the Wizard of Oz, and this would be a fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming by, Aaron.
Yes.
Last minute,
absolutely.
you stepped up to the plate, man. Thanks so much.
When Courtney said he couldn't.
Oh, was Courtney doubting me again?
Yeah. No.
Yes,
All right, man. Well, thank you again, Aaron. This is great. Codename S.T.E.A.M. Go play it. Read Aaron's review. It's not up on the site yet, but maybe by the time this is published, this podcast is up. The review shall be up, and it is a really good one. You're a talented writer, and everybody should read this.
Thank you.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye, Aaron. Boy, that Abraham Lincoln sure is a charmer, and
He's a boss.
so is Aaron in that interview,
Agreed.
and so was Shawn earlier today in this episode. We're all just charming individuals here.
Just charming little man. Oh, what is the name of that song? Is that a Smith song?
What?
Hang on.
Will
I'm
Smith?
doing some. No, not Will Smith. The Smiths.
Are you sure it's not Will Smith?
I'm pretty sure. Hang on. This Charming Man. That's the name of it. Whew. I knew it was out there. Anyway, so welcome to this episode of Sidetracked. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Hurst. This is your other host, Matt Batson, but we're getting back on track now because this is actually more than the score. We just wanted to fool you.
You've been Shyamalan'd.
Oh yeah, burn. But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. Shawn had a lot of things to say about Battlefield. We got a little deep there at the end with the the cops and criminals and what's going on in America, that talk. So it's unavoidable with that game, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
and then Codename S.T.E.A.M. just seems like the opposite. It's just fun. You're just killing aliens with like fictional characters from America's literature past, and that's great.
That is great.
Yeah, it is. So next week, we've got the hookup on a few things. We were supposed to have Courtney on with talking about Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. Unfortunately, that is a long game because it's a big old JRPG. So
Courtney's busy bringing those chocobos, fighting those bad guys.
fighting those chocobos and stuff.
Fighting
Fighting
those
chocobos. That's not what should happen. That's not what I meant.
That does sound
Although-
like that would be a good band name, the Fighting Chocobos.
Fighting chocobos. I kind of really like that. Matt, the band that we talked about starting a band last time. We talked with Jake. So. We'll have to float that idea to Jake, see what he feels like. But anyway, so Courtney is he's very thorough in his reviews because he writes really kick-ass reviews, and so he's taking his time with this, which is totally fair. But it should be up this week, but then we'll talk to him
Next week.
for our next episode.
Yes.
And but then there are two other games also that we're gonna have a special, super packed Brian and Matt episode next week because you are reviewing Mario Party 10.
Yeah, turned down for what? Getting crunk with Princess Peach.
Hell yeah, I'd like to
Oh,
get
yeah.
crunk with Princess Peach.
And you're reviewing a game too, and that is Lego Ninjago Shadow of Ronin.
Oh hell yeah! I'm pretty excited to take my Vita everywhere for like a week and just playing a Lego game because I'm 25 years old and that's what I plan to do. So I'm pretty excited. I like ninjas and I like video games and I like Legos in that order. So
My cousin will be happy. He used to be a big fan of that Ninjago series. I don't know if he listens to the show though. I don't know if he would like read my stuff. No, if you're
I might,
listening to this, tell me.
you'll have
Right now.
to rope him in for next week and see what he has to say about
Hmm.
what I say about the game.
Hmm.
Maybe he would disagree with me. I've never played one.
Like a Lego
I
game?
just no, I've played Lego games.
Okay, I was about to say, how can you miss one? There's like
No, no, no,
five
no.
out every year.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've definitely played a couple. I have a little brother who's still a wee lad in his single digit years, so
Mhm.
so we've played Lego games together, but I've never played one of these Ninjago games.
Yeah, I'm not. I
So
don't know if I'm sure they've had like games, but I knew it was like a Lego series, and then there was like a TV show or something.
there's a TV show?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
balls,
might have
man.
to read up on this Ninjago lore.
I know that I'm stepping in some deep shit here.
Hmm.
I should have reviewed like something else. I don't know, man. But no, I'm pretty excited to play that one. That'll be good times.
Hmm.
Getting my Ninja Go. Although I think even before playing it, I already know what my little headline's gonna be,
Hmm.
and it's gonna be about how sneakily good this game is.
What if this
Assuming it
game was?
doesn't,
What if
assuming
this
it
is
doesn't suck,
horrible?
or
Yeah.
it could be I don't know. I'll come up with something. Sneakily good is the first thing that popped in my head.
Sneakily
Uh,
good.
yeah, I pride myself on those headlines though. So
I always like mine will either be like a cheesy some cheesy wordplay or it's just kind of like thoughtless.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have to. Some
You
games are
gotta put
not
some
worth it.
forward. Yeah.
So yeah, so you can look out for those three games next week. Final Fantasy Type 0 HD with Courtney, Mario Party 10 with Matt, and Lego Ninjago Shadow of Ronin with me. I like to think that my game has the coolest title right off the bat, I
Yeah.
will say. Um, but in the meantime, if you want to talk to us about those games coming up, or those games that we talked this week, or anything we've done in the past few episodes since we started this bad boy, or if you'd like to talk about the future of the Fighting Chocobos, if you'd like to be in a band with me and Matt,
Yeah.
you can do that too. We're gonna be, it's gonna be house music, I'd
Hmm.
say, because that's definitely where both of our interests lie,
Of
don't you think?
course.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I get down on that shit all the time. So
House music.
just I play it in my house, so that makes it house music.
What about like
Yes,
attic music or basement music?
attic music, basement music. I guess that would be like EDM would be basement music.
Yeah.
I don't know what attic music would be. A
House
banjo. That's
house
porch
is a
music.
form of EDM too.
I know it's just one big umbrella. I don't know about that
Fun,
shit, man. I don't
yeah,
listen to any of
fun
that. I
fun fact. I don't either. I like know nothing about it until last semester I was taking like a music type class thing, and we were
hmm
doing a big group projects, and the topics that we would like research and give presentations on would range from like artists and then to famous venues and famous festivals. And so there was like I don't know like who's that guy again? But like the Ramones were on there and like I'm forgetting everyone's name. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's
A
not good.
bunch of a bunch of like classical David Bowie. David Bowie was on there. Can't forget
Oh,
about David
cool.
Bowie. But yeah, it
Yeah, of
was
course.
like it would range from like classical to like modern pop stars and things like that. And
hmm
being the nice passive guy I was, even though I probably shouldn't have because I was the leader of the group, my group
hmm
decided we would pick called it's a festival called Ultra Music Festival, which is an EDM like 3 day
Nice.
festival in Miami. So yeah, I became knowledgeable of different types of EDM.
Well, that's the first step is just knowing that it exists, and then
Yeah,
you suddenly wake up at a rave. So,
yeah. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen.
how do you feel about glow sticks?
Yeah,
Okay, so you're safe, man. You're safe. We're good.
in high
Um,
school, I had a friend who drank a glow stick. He
oh,
threw it.
that sounds terrible. Oh, I was actually my roommate was telling me a story about it when he was in school, middle school or high school or something, that he had a friend that did that. Why was that a thing?
I don't know.
Did his tongue glow?
I don't remember if he said that. This was a long time ago.
Huh. You should ask him. Or if he's listening to this podcast right now, shoot us an email. And you can shoot us an email at contact.mong@gmail.com. Yeah, I know you like that, Matt.
I do like
You
that.
could you
Also,
can also
I
oh,
have
go
the
ahead.
idea if you're gonna send us emails, maybe in like the topic line, put more than the score so Courtney knows and he's not just disregarding any emails
Oh,
because
that's
we still
smart.
haven't gotten any emails. I mean, that's fine if you don't like us.
I know. Some people just like to silently listen, you know?
Yeah, they're like, I enjoy
I've never
it.
emailed any of the podcasts I listen to.
That is true. I haven't
So,
done that either.
yeah. So maybe all of our loyal fans are like that. We have heard from Monster Hunter because he's in our
Yes, we
hearts.
have.
So
Someone argued
you
that
can
he
also find us.
is our hearts.
Yes, he actually pumps the blood through my body.
Yes.
So he's a hard worker. I probably make it too hard on him at some points. Um, but you can find us on Twitter at mong.com, spelled out DOTCOM. You can find us at YouTube at youtube.com/Mong Network. You can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram by searching for Middle of Nowhere Gaming or Mong or one of those, You know how to find us. You can come to our website and find us directly at middleofnowheregaming.com for all the latest editorials, news, and reviews, and all that fun stuff. We got some podcasts going. You can head over to Twitch, which I was just on earlier today, doing a little NHL action where I was leading until 5 minutes left in the third period, and then Ryan scored twice in the last 5 minutes to win, and I was pretty bummed. However, an update to that game. So it was the St. Louis Blues and the Detroit Red Wings, and Ryan was the Red Wings 'cause that's his favorite team. And because that's a game today that is actually finished now. This is Sunday, by the way, not Monday when you're listening to this. So I lost 2-1 after being up 1-0 for most of the game. The same thing happened in the real game where the Red Wings went down 1-0 and then came back and scored twice. And the guy who scored the game-winning goal. The guy who scored the game-winning goal in our game, Justin Applicator, he also scored the game-winning goal in real life. So Ryan and I are a video game sports simulation experience now.
I just threw up everywhere.
Yep. So anytime there's a big event, we're just going to play it first, and we'll see how close we get. But it's going to be spot on. So twitch.tv/MongaPlays. You can catch some streaming action there. And, yeah. Matt Batson, why don't you talk about some Twitter stuff real quick?
You can find our guests and us on Twitter, except for Aaron. He does not have a Twitter. But
Boo.
Shawn does, and he is at Little Big Ham with 2 M's at the end. Myself is at _M Batson, and Brian is at El Padreoso.
Boo! You got it. 2 weeks in
Got
a row. I'm proud of you. You've grown up so fast. Just remembering
thanks.
Twitter handles and stuff.
It's what I'm best at.
All right, man. Let's call it a wrap on this one. We've talked about a lot of weird shit. Just in recap, things we've talked about on this show: fighting chocobos,
Fighting chocobos.
Abraham Lincoln,
Hasidic Jews.
Hasidic Jews,
Uh,
American police controversy,
yes.
fighting aliens.
Fighting aliens.
We've talked about more stuff than this. Why can't I remember now?
I don't know. You know,
I guess
whenever
we're
I'm
gonna have
trying
to.
whenever
We're gonna.
I'm trying to think, there's always like what pops into my head, just kind of a go-to like of names is Dallas Mavericks, Dirk Nowitzki. I just always think
Dirk
of him.
Nowitzki pops in your head.
Nowitzki, yeah. We talked about him right now, so that counts.
Oh, that's true. Now we've talked about Dirk Nowitzki. That's pretty cool. I didn't think that the NBA would come up in our,
Well, it
our
did.
conversation, but it did right at the end. So now you're just gonna have to start over this podcast and listen again to hear all the weird shit that we talked about in case you weren't paying attention the first time. But
Also, side note, my laptop is at 1% battery, so I might just die before this ends.
all right, let's get out of here. I'm Brian. This is Matt. We're
I'm
out.
Matt.
Thank
We're
you
out.
for listening to More Than the Score. Matt, shut the fuck up. Your laptop's
love
dead
you.
now. We love you all. To
I
all
am
a
your
good night.
father.
Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. Oh shit.
I I feel like I've mastered preventing myself from sneezing. I'm pretty well experienced in that art. Like I'll just
I like the sensation of sneezing. I love
sneezing.
that though.
Yeah. They
Ah,
they
man, it
say
feels good.
that
It's like an
sneezing,
orgasm.
yeah, it's 1/8 of an orgasm.
Yeah.
Someone said
So if
that
you have 8 sneezes, is that a full orgasm?
apparently someone said that at my work and we just ridiculed him for that. And like every time someone would sneeze, we would be like 7 more, and there you go.
Nice. Nice. Oh man.